every woman's allowed to choose what she wants to have with her life. And no matter what that decision is, we can't question her or fault her. If you're not willing to go to school, not use ChatGPT to do your homework and to prepare your projects, but you're just hoping to get through just to be able to check those boxes, that's not you working hard. If the lawyer in your scenario is you and you're making $150,000 a year and the accountant partner is making $80,000, just from a logical standpoint, the person who is making $80,000 should be the person who's risking their job because they're the one that's not going to be able to sustain the household. Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of discussions that people are having, but equally, the woman lawyer in that scenario is now going to be looked down upon by other women because she's refusing to come and pick up the children. When there are mommy and me groups and the father attends them, the mothers in those mommy and me groups hate the mother. You see it in television shows and movies alike. They constantly question her ability to be a mother because the father is the one taking care. So no matter how you look at this, there's always a downside and people are going to judge you no matter what, which is why I think that rather than pitching any one version or the other, women should just start being nicer to one another and saying that we juggle a lot. But that's impossible to do if we're saying that in order for you to be a feminist, you must do X, Y, and Z. Because if you fall out of that category, then that pits women against each other and that defeats the entire purpose. So women, I don't think in very high paying or powerful jobs are having to feel bad about having this conversation because they well know that they're the one that's funding the household. It is women, I would say, that want to stand up for themselves, but they make less than their spouse or their partner. And that becomes a problem because they're not the one that can sustain the household either. So yes, is it a situation where it's going to be unfair one way or the other? Absolutely. But unless you can operate on one income and it not matter, then you have to have this hard conversation. That's why having children nowadays, when life is expensive enough as just one individual, needs to be a discussion. Because again, someone has to take care of the children.
That's so true.
And if you both are in exceedingly high paying jobs and neither one of you are willing to risk those jobs, because it is a risk no matter what, if you take time off, because you are not gaining the experience that your competitors and the people you're competing with are gaining. Then you have to have the conversation, do we have a nanny? Because that's always going to be an opportunity to have. But then again, you're going to have other women who judge you. And it's the most infuriating thing because do you know that house husbands nowadays are a huge thing? Hey, quick break from the episode. I want to tell you about a new mastermind community I'm building with some incredibly high achievers. We're calling it The Den. It's a space for leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries who are ready to level up their business and their life. Coaching, networking, strategy, all in one place. And right now, you can get in completely free for 3 months. Link is in the description. Now back to the episode. Men, when they meet house husbands, are jealous. They do not judge them for not going out. They're constantly asking, dude, what do you do all day? And they are like, how can I get there? But women, on the other hand, again, we tear each other down, no matter if it's good ideas or not. But when you start to really see the house husband type of thing blow up and other men not judge them, you see where feminism and all the things alike have just torn the sisterhood of being women apart. So we just need to strip everything down and say every woman's allowed to choose what she wants to have with her life. And no matter what that decision is, if it's to follow a very traditional religious background because that's what she knows and that's what she was brought up in, and she doesn't want to take the chance of something different, we can't question her or fault her because that's what she knows and that's what she wants. But equally, the woman who decides to put her career first and not have children should not be looked down upon because she's not providing the earth with a new child. And everybody in between should have the same opportunity to make decisions for themselves
And so long as they're not hurting children, they shouldn't be judged.
That's perfectly said. So the common issue is having children. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, I think that could, obviously be said. I mean, there's a lot of children who are brought into this world, unfortunately, with parents who didn't have these discussions.
You know how I feel about that. It's a whole nother topic. I did have a question for you. What is your advice to the younger generation based off of our conversation and what you're seeing now?
I think that as a younger individual, you have to know that life isn't always as hard as people make it out to be if you are willing to put in the work. And that means that, if you're putting your health first, because if your health declines, everything else gets harder. If you're having discussions with yourself, your partner, your friends, your family about work-life balance, you're going to be able to find that balance. But so many people have that balance specifically skewed that's what's graying or discoloring everyone's perception about life. They're putting their life balance above their work ethic to say, I want this type of life and I only want to work this hard to get it. And that's not balance either. No one's saying that you have to work 160 hours a week to be able to attain success. But if you're not willing to go to school, not use ChatGPT to do your homework and to prepare your projects, but you're just hoping to get through just to be able to check those boxes, that's not you working hard. That is you literally just trying to do the bare minimum to pass. That means that you're going to live kind of a bare minimum type of life because you're just checking the boxes. Figure out what you're passionate about. Realize that it is going to be hard work. Prepare goals to get you there because nothing just happens to us. Yes, we can talk about internet sensations to say that they got lucky. But that's 1 in 30 million. So that we can't use as a baseline example. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out how to get there. If you don't know what you want to do, maybe figure out what your life's goals are. Is it to travel the world? Well, if it's to travel the world, why don't you figure out what types of jobs will allow for you to do that? If it's to have a huge family, then you figure out maybe California isn't the place to live for you because it's going to be too expensive. Maybe if you move to Wyoming, it's going to be more attainable. But you have to sit down and be very, very honest with yourself and say, either what is going to make me happy from a professional standpoint, or what do I really want to do in life and how can I pair that with my profession? Or the only thing that's going to matter is money in my bank. Because if that's the case, then you have to be willing to put in the sacrifices to get that money into your bank. But I think nowadays too many kids specifically graduate from high school with absolutely no plan. And if they do have a plan, they have no way to be able to execute it. So it's to sit down, have those conversations with yourself, figure out how you get there, what type of schooling is going to be in that, whether or not it's, traditional college, whether or not it's a trade school, whether or not it's on the job training, and you do it. You don't take years off in between to travel before you can afford it. If you do, you need to be looking at internships that you can gain experience while doing something that you want. It's always about pairing everything together and having a plan that doesn't just end the moment you attain your very first checklist box.
So just be prepared, have a goal in mind, have something hard to work for, kind of just don't try to fly by under the radar because it's not going to get you very far at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And if I could ward people off from relying on AI for literally everything, that's probably the biggest bit of advice I could give. I went to a graduation party for one of our friends' seniors, and him and all of his friends bragged about how ChatGPT literally did their schoolwork for all of high school, and that, they were able to get through, but they learned nothing. Well, what you put into something is what you're going to get out of it. So if you're relying solely on a robot to do everything for you, you're getting nothing out of it.
And when push comes to shove and you get the job of your dreams because they think that you've worked for it, you're going to fail because you don't know how to do it. So really study, read books, listen to podcasts, watch documentaries, actually do the schoolwork, take extra classes just to be able to better yourself. But don't do the bare minimum because that is going to come back to bite you in the butt when you least expect it.
And this whole chat GBT issue thing, have you thought that the purpose of it or why it has been pushed on us so much, especially the younger generation, is to kind of weed out the people who don't want to work hard and maybe have, and it's a crazy topic, and maybe because they want to build a future of like robotics and having AI run the world, and all those people who kind of fell behind because they were using it so much and didn't have like actual like knowledge on what they were doing. Like, does that make sense to you?
Yes, absolutely. It does make sense to me. And it's a really scary thought, but I think that you're spot on. I think that the introduction of AI to simplify your life and to streamline it is a very, very good use of AI. But when you become completely reliant on AI to do simple tasks and to basically be your brain, one, you're becoming really controllable because you're not going to have independent thought. Two, if we lost the internet tomorrow, and therefore you lost your ability to be able to utilize AI, you have no skills and therefore you're disposable. And that all leads me to believe that there is a bigger agenda. I mean, we've seen movies about this. We were not supposed to ever allow robots to like get this smart. So like that's terrifying. And children now are saying that it's impossible to get jobs and that, you know, life is too hard. Well, the problem about that is that when people complain about one complexity or other about life, when we can use fast food, for instance, when fast food workers demanded that they be paid higher wages, one way to be able to combat having to absorb that extra cost for wages is to then implement more AI, which then means that we're getting rid of more jobs. And on a day-to-day basis, we're seeing more and more things taken over by AI. Soon enough, all of your jobs that are going to be for people who are not extremely motivated are going to be able to be done by robots or by AI. And that's a very scary thing because then we're going to have an entire subset of the population that the world has no use for. And what do you do with them? So that's the scary thought, is that do not allow for yourself to be that person. Don't allow for yourself to settle for a job that's going to be taken over by AI in the next 5 to 10 years or even 6.
And at the end of the day, like, we are the ones to blame because we're allowing this to happen, which is super crazy. Like, and it's just passing by and nobody's even realizing the depth of it and what, like, the agenda is too. So
Right. Unfortunately, crazy. I don't think you ever know the agenda of why something occurs or why they're pushing some sort of narrative until it's too late.
If you're like me, you have these crazy dreams before and you're kind of like the world is going to go on fire. Like, we wouldn't even be able to survive the zombie apocalypse because everything your chat GBTing isn't teaching you like how to grow vegetables and stuff. Like, we're doomed.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, Collette, I really want to thank you for coming on the Daily Vixen today. It's been such a pleasure having this conversation. I definitely see you coming back in the future. We have these crazy conversations quite often in the office, but it was really a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having me, Queen.